Yo, what up, Lucid Crew? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at videos from all over the internet to try to understand things we don't understand in hopes that we start understanding things that we don't understand. So, yeah, let's go.
Do you know that there's a pyramid in Alaska? There's a pyramid and it's underground, and they've been studying it for decades. It's not that far from Valdez, I believe. I would have to check on where it's at, but apparently, yeah. And I know a very important person that from the Pentagon that met with one of the lead defense contractors that were studying it, and they said, we think we finally know what it's doing. It's turned on. We think it's suppressing consciousness. That's what he said. The legend is that there was an earthquake of sorts, and all the seismographs picked up the waves that come, all the way through everything, and they saw this whole anomaly, like as those shock waves went through the land, there was some kind of structure or something that perturbed, on the receiving end of these waves. And so they dug some tunnels, elevator shafts, made a little strip there to land, and they've been underground studying it forever. That's how the legend is. Then the news did a little piece on it, and then all of a sudden all that shit disappeared. The people at the station said, the guys came in and said, never air this again, kind of thing. So, but on the deathbed of a couple people that were out there, they said like they were very aware of that. I think in the beginning, if I remember correctly, again, it was like someone that worked for like Bell Labs or like, who was it? It was maybe it was more the precursor to AT&T or something like that. Like, I can't remember all the. I don't want to get it all too fucked up. People kind of hang on my words when I talk about shit like this. But, so the only thing I want to say is, yes, there is a pyramid, and we've been studying it, and I pretty much have said all I know about it. But I got some other theories, but
Well, it's crazy because like Tom DeLonge, everyone was like giving him shit, right? When he left Blink-182 to start, studying aliens and stuff. I listened to some of his interviews and things like that, and they basically talked about like they approached him because he was actually like getting like information that was like helpful to the whatever you want to call them that are actually really studying the aliens and shit like that. So he's been working with them. So, and I believe a lot of what he says is as close to the truth as we're going to get. And honestly, if there's like one thing that I could know, like for sure, just get all the information about ever, I think it would be all of the past civilizations that have lived on Earth and the technology and things that they've had. Because you figure like over years and years and years and years and years, like all that stuff is covered up. So it's not surprising that there's a massive pyramid underground somewhere because it just got covered up over time by nature, or they did it intentionally to hide it or whatever. But either way, I feel like that shit's everywhere. At the bottom of the ocean, underneath, all the sand and mud under certain parts of the ocean could be hidden civilizations we're never going to know about. It's so insane to think. And it's kind of unfortunate and upsetting at the same time that we're never going to know about them.
There is a record of technologies that existed on Earth, of civilization more advanced than we are now. And the question is, were there some use of some type of electrogravitic levitation technologies that were used? The other problem is, even when the Smithsonian paid $5 million to simulate using mathematics and the technology that archaeologists say existed back in the time of the pyramids, those obelisks like the Washington Monument, but those were all one big piece of stone, they couldn't raise the smallest one. With everything we know now about mathematics and engineering with what's been postulated. So there's something doesn't add up there. But I think it's a bridge too far to claim they were built by ETs. But they were certainly, their construction and the precision of the stones cut, how far they were moved, how they were put into place. There are a lot of questions I have, but I have no proof of how that might have happened, except the man I referred to earlier from Redstone Arsenal area, who is given material occasionally, is not always extraterrestrial. He has been given objects that are tens of thousands of years old or older, that are technological, that have been found in the ocean and elsewhere, that were of human origin and were extremely advanced technologies. So I believe that it's likely that on Earth, prior to the modern era, there have been civilizations far advanced beyond where we are, that for which we have very little record. And when that record is found, I think it's kind of swept under the carpet. You know, it's interesting. There were years ago when they did the Mars, images, and they found that there were these obelisks and strange looking objects on Mars. I went out to the Goddard Space Flight Center here outside DC to meet with, Mark Carlotto and some other scientists there. And they said, yep, it's been pixelated out for the public, but there are structures there. And, they were very ancient, but we're talking millions of years old, millions. And I was out in California after I had disclosed this to some people, and a man came up to me from JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs, and I didn't know him. He knew who I was and said, Dr. Greer, here's the issue. You're right, those exist, but we can't disclose that. I said, why? It's not an operational ET device. It's not, it's old. He says, yes, but you don't understand how powerful this information is. I said, why? He says, if this was disclosed, it would collapse the fundamentalist orthodox belief systems of every religion on earth.
So here's one thing I don't understand about that. I've always said that, they're not telling us everything because it would collapse religions around the world if they knew that, there were civilizations around older than what we think, so on and so forth. Aliens, whatever. But at the same time, doesn't the Bible, and I know I'm just saying, like, the Christian Bible isn't like the all-encompassing religion. It's just the one I grew up at, so it's the one I'm most familiar with. So I'm just going to use that as an example. Wouldn't there be the idea of outer space and other planets and stuff like that already go against what the Bible says? There's so many people that are flat earth supporters that comment on my channel and talk about, the firmament and the earth being flat and stuff in the Bible. So just for NASA to say that there are other planets out there and that space is like huge and infinite and stuff like that, that already goes against some things that are in the Christian Bible and probably other ones, I would assume, because they're all very similar in a lot of aspects. So what sense does that make, to where like this could make all religions fall apart because it goes against what, let's say, the Bible says? Like, okay, well, NASA's already saying shit that goes against what the Bible says. So I don't understand that logic. I certainly think they're covering up some stuff. I just don't know why.
Doesn't necessarily start at a steam engine and go to an internal combustion engine and then, electric power, nuclear power, and go up the ladder that we come on. If the stuff is true about the origin and the binary star system, and they have heavier elements that we don't have, and this stable element 115 is a naturally occurring material, maybe that's the first thing they started experimenting with. And the version of their steam engine, their first product, was something that operated like this. And actually, when they came to Earth to look around, or, whatever, they were amazed at the stuff we were doing. These guys burned stuff and squirted out the back to go forward. So, who says they follow any kind of normal progression like that?
I've always said it, man. Humans are conceited. We're a very conceited species. Even on a smaller level of like it being hard for people to comprehend how other people can think differently than they think based off of their environment and their experiences. Just like the political climate. Like how could you think differently from how I feel about, human rights or, abortion or whatever? Like just at the very small base level, we can't even comprehend why somebody would think different from us. So it makes sense to me that people wouldn't be able to fathom another species just progressing and growing and evolving differently than us, because you figure everything's different. The gravity's different, environment's different, the atmosphere's different, like Bob said here, the elements are probably different, everything is so much different. So you have things like a lot of people, like he was saying here in the video, are thinking why would they care about us if their technology is so much more sophisticated and technologically advanced beyond ours? Why would they come and why would they care? We'd be like ants to them. And that's not always the case. They could have evolved differently, and they could be like, wow, how did we never think of a steam engine? Wow, how do we never think of a self-landing rocket ship, with a propulsion engine? You have to really think outside of the box. And I know as conspiracy theorists, we do that. We try to think outside of the box as much as possible, but we also have to put ourselves in other potentially unbelievable shoes, right? We gotta put yourself in someone else's shoes. We have to think this is completely insane and outside of our realm of understanding. So it's very possible, and that's very hard to do because there are so many things that are not similar to our existence and so many things that are so much different. For it to be completely and utterly unbelievable and just impossible in our realm of understanding kind of makes it that much more possible to happen.
and you'll see the thing spinning. There we are. I'll hold it at the same level as your eyes, and we'll let it go. Now you know that it's turning around in circles. In fact, if you look at it from above, you can see that it's turning around in a circle. But now your brain is doing something strange. It's telling you that it's not going around in a circle, but it's oscillating. In other words, it's turning part way, stopping, and then going back the other way. Now that's a strange effect, isn't it? But if you think that's strange, wait till I add something through the middle. What am I going to add? Well, I'm going to add a ballpoint pen. And to do that, I've placed a little piece of double-sided sticky tape on the ballpoint pen. You can use ordinary sticky tape if you like. I'll place it right through the centre of the window and press it in place like that. Now this time, by fixing on the pen, you'll be able to see that the pen is going around in a circle and not going backwards and forwards. But what's your brain going to tell you about the window? Will your brain allow you to see the window going around in a circle with the pen? Or are you going to see something really strange? Well, have a look at that. That's unbelievable, isn't it? You can see the pen going around in a circle, but your brain is telling you that the window is going part way around and turning and going the other way. And yet in order to do that, the two things have to pass through one another, the pen and the window. You know it's not possible. You know it can't happen. And yet as you look at it, you see them going through one another every time they go around.
When people say seeing is believing, it's not true, man. It's not true. I saw it. It's true. It's real. It did that. Did it though? Did it really do that? Our minds are literally have evolved and have been created in a way to where it tries to make sense of what we're seeing based off of things that we've already seen. Hence pareidolia. So, I don't know, man. You really just got to question everything. Even if you're seeing it with your own eyes, you really just got to be like, I'm not sure. I don't know. That's what I saw. I don't know if that's what happened. And some of us are so incredibly confident in the things that we see and claim to be true, and it's obviously just not the case. Just look at this video.
Chemtrails cause mind control. Well, what people don't realize is that your consciousness is governed by light. Light comes in through your eyes and hits your pineal gland. You have to have that. And you have to have it. And the pineal gland is the center of consciousness. It's the center of the soul, Descartes said. Okay? And so light, the color of light, changes your consciousness. And if the sun is changing, then it's possible that our consciousness is changing. It could be that the changing nature of the sun over the last 20 years is what's causing the Great Awakening that's happening. And they know that the Great Awakening is happening. Previous to our other conversation about archons, what if the archons realized that the changing nature of the sun was going to wake people up and they're going to find out about them? What do? That's what they do. They spray the skies.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. I have a friend who just was traveling through Europe last week, 2 weeks straight in Europe. I go to Europe all the time. I used to never see chemtrails in Europe. He said the skies were filled with them. I have a friend who lives in South Africa, Michael Tellinger. Same thing. He tells me the skies are filled with chemtrails now. It used to just be the United States, he said.
There's no clear days anymore.
There's no clear days anymore. And they've upped it. I don't know if you've noticed, but they've upped it. It's now much more spraying than there used to be, say, 3 years ago.
Right.
And the spraying is different. They've really gotten sophisticated. This is some of the
thicker, everything.
Thicker, like that middle cloud there in that photograph. They've really gotten good with their with whatever technology they're using here.
Whoa, that's a wild theory. I never thought of that before. Yeah, everything's just light bending around everything, right? So for them to manipulate the light in a way, I guess that could very well be the case. You know, that could very well be possible to kind of give us a different reality, right, that we're experiencing based on changing the light. It sounds so simple. Like it sounds like it's such like a surface level statement, right? Like, oh, if they change the light, we'll see things differently. But it's like, I feel like it goes beyond that. I just don't know how to describe that in a way to make it sound more interesting. But very possible though. That's a wild theory.
The conspiracy theory around the Mandela effect. This woman gave the example of the Fruit of the Loom logo. She said the Fruit of the Loom logo used to have a cornucopia in it.
It did, didn't it? Here's the thing.
Fruit of the Loom was like, we've never ever had that.
That's impossible.
This chick went so crazy about it. Like, she was talking to her therapist, and her therapist is like, chill out about Fruit of the Loom.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm not kidding. It has a cornucopia in it, and I'm gonna die on this hill. She went through her whole closet and like friends' closets and stuff, and she finally found a t-shirt that had the Fruit of the Loom logo with the cornucopia.
No
in it.
way.
And
Dang.
she went as far as to go look at the old like trademarks and stuff and found an illustration of
Yep.
the cornucopia.
Dude, what is up with that? Why are they gaslighting us?
The theory is it's a giant experiment to see how easy it is to erase history.
I mean, that's 100% probably a real thing.
So
Yeah.
be stubborn. It's Bernstein Bears.
Yes.
Yeah, not Berenstain.
It is 100% Bernstein Bears, dude. 100%. That is screwed up. That's so screwed up. It does not surprise me, though. I mean, just living in America these past couple years, it would not surprise me if there's just a massive psyop to see how easy it was to erase history. Because, I mean, they're trying to erase history anyway, whoever they are. Like, they don't want us to know stuff that happened that will potentially harm what they're trying to do moving forward. So, it does not surprise me at all. We are just meant to be dumb, ignorant, non-free thinking, just like zombies that just consume and eat trash and end up on a ship like in WALL-E, where we're just fat and can't take care of ourselves, and we just have robots taking care of us, and the overlord just completely just managing our life. The puppeteer, right? The puppeteers at the top just managing our life and keeping us happy with milkshakes and reality TV. Shit, man. It doesn't surprise me at all. That's probably true. Still Berenstain Bears.
To anyone who believes the moon landing happened, that NASA actually went to the moon, I got some questions for you. First, do you actually believe that this piece of junk right here actually landed on the moon? Let's take a closer look at the moon lander. This seriously looks like cardboard and aluminum foil. If a school kid made this in science class, he wouldn't even get a C. Next question for you. Who was the cameraman for Neil Armstrong's first steps on the moon? Who was taking the picture? Also, Neil Armstrong's boots. They don't match the footprints made on the moon. How do you explain that one, baby cakes? And I got one more question for you. Remember the moon buggy that they drove on the moon? The go-kart they made so they could drive around the moon. How did it get there? How did it get there? This is what they say landed on the moon. So how did the moon buggy fit in or on this thing? Now, I'm not saying they landed on the moon or they didn't. I'm just asking the question. Shabadoo Bushkies! Shabadoo!
Yeah, it is worth talking about, I suppose. The Y-Files, I respect the hell out of the Y-Files, the research they do and stuff. And they did a video about the moon landing. It was basically saying, like, it probably did happen, right? Just based on all the evidence and the misconceptions we have about, you know, the stars not being in the photo because of, you know, the reflection of the moon and from the sunlight and just a whole bunch of stuff like that makes really a lot of sense. But I'm still in the group that thinks, or it might not even be a group, it might just be me. I think we went to the moon. I don't think the footage they used, I don't think the stuff that we see, like Neil Armstrong and stuff, I don't think that is the actual footage of being on the moon, or when we went to the moon. I think that we have been there, and I think that they just couldn't share with us what they found on the moon. So that's where I'm at. So I do think this footage and stuff is super fake. It looks super fake. Like, I also think, too, being like a big fan of retrofuturism, you know, like the Jetsons and stuff like that aesthetic where, you know, back in the days, what they thought technology would look like in the future, they would make that, and it's just like different from how it actually is now. That's what that lander looks like to me. It looks like what somebody in the 60s created that they thought something that would land on the moon would look like. And it looks very, what is that, tinfoil and cardboard. That's what it looks like to me. I don't have all the answers, but I do not think that what you see is what actually happened in most cases. So it shouldn't surprise you.
You have no idea. There's a book that shows you without any machinery how to travel to different universes. Why don't you know about this book? Why don't you have this book? They do not want you to know what's inside this book. In order to understand this book, you must first understand that reality is not what it seems. Your perception of reality is based on creation, not on how reality actually is. In other words, your perception of reality is based on not what is true, but adaptation. Your senses are not based on what is and how reality actually looks, but instead is based on what is best for your perception in order to survive and interface with reality. If you had to perceive time, the fourth dimension, within your third dimensional brain and framework, you would be unable to interact and interface with the reality around you. Because the past, the future, and the present is all happening at one time. But you have adapted to perceive things as happening step by step by step by step in order to help you process reality. So you cannot perceive the fourth and the fifth dimension, though it's always here and a part of your life. The fourth dimension being time and the fifth dimension being timelines or possibilities. Though you cannot perceive these dimensions in the same way you can perceive the second dimension or the third dimension, you can interact with these dimensions. You see, time is a loop. Time is a cycle, and you can become trapped in these cycles. How many of you watching think that you've lived this life before, feel like you've lived a lot of these events before? How many of you watching feel like you're doing the same mistakes over and over and over again? Write in the comments your experiences with that. Pause this and write it in the comments. What if I told you there's a way out? What if I told you you can escape into another timeline, another universe? This book does exactly that. If you read the entire book, by the end of the book, you will be in a completely different timeline and a better timeline. It's called God's Journal.
I'm not familiar at all with that. Are you familiar with God's Journal? Do you know what this is? I've never heard of it before. It's an interesting concept, though. I wonder if it's just because while you're reading it, you're learning and kind of like awakening yourself, I guess. Like waking up to things. So by the time you have all that information, you're viewing reality differently. So you kind of inadvertently and maybe unintentionally kind of project yourself into a different timeline or like reality just based on the understanding you gain by reading the book. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. I don't know if that's what he was talking about, but I mean, it sounds insane no matter what, but that's really the only way that I could, I guess, justify those events happening just based off of reading the book. But I don't know. If it's something different, let me know. If you've read this book or you're familiar with it, let me know in the comments, because that was my first time hearing about it, and it sounds pretty interesting.
World's smartest kid thinks that CERN blew the world up in 2008.
Maybe that fucking kid is right.
Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred from form to form. But if there are an infinite number of universes, then there's 100% chance that this happened. At least maybe in another universe, maybe not ours. Then again, there's also an infinite chance that this is our universe.
Joe Rogan and the world's smartest kids seem convinced that CERN is the epicenter of world-altering experiments. Maybe they're looking in the wrong direction. Like the true architects of reality-bending science are just toiling away, not in the spotlight of CERN, but in dark corners so secretive even their existence is a state secret. Quantum reality hacking, consciousness transference, time manipulation, experiments that don't just bend time, but fold it, altering the past through the present, or universal simulation control. Maybe they're manipulating the parameters of our simulated universe. Tell me what you think in the comments. Where's the real Pandora's box, CERN or secret shadow labs?
Maybe there are people in this reality, like in our lifetime here, doing things to manipulate time and space and whatnot. That might be happening, whether it be at CERN or in little corners of secret rooms, underground bases, like all the ones all these billionaires are making, which is crazy, by the way. That's a topic I'm sure we'll get to at some point. All these billionaires making all these underground fallout shelters recently, which is nuts. But maybe it's just part of the simulation being tampered with, right? Maybe it's whoever wrote the code that created the simulation that is our reality. Maybe they're just updating it or making changes, downloaded content or expansion packs or something, right? If you look at it like a big video game, maybe they're just getting updates, you know? Maybe that's what like Deja Vu is, just like an update. I don't know, man. I have no idea. This shit is so wild. It never ceases to amaze me. I never get bored looking at this kind of stuff or talking about it, because it's just like there's so many different possibilities and so many ways it can go. You can literally talk about it forever and never run out of ideas, assuming you have the mental bandwidth.
What's going on with my body? You guys wanted to know an update. Look, first of all, if you guys haven't seen stuff like, for example, my elbows, look at this shit. Hold on one second. It's not just my elbows that are changing. Look, we got forearm stuff now. I don't know if I can, it pops out pretty far. My eyes, look, if I go totally in, you guys can see, look, normal eyes, right? And I'm not doing it, but when you toggle it, and people are like, hey, wait, first of all, so that you can see there's no, like, I don't know, contact or anything in there. Do you see? Nothing. No, but if I move it to the side, watch. Do you guys see that? It's crazy, right? I don't, it's been going on for a while. If you guys haven't seen the rest of the updates on my page, check it out.
All right, so I think the eyeball was a video effect. It just looked fake. It looked like an overlay, like a frame overlay. But that elbow, buddy, you need to go get that shit checked out, man. You need to. It's like you got a contusion. Looks like you banged your elbow super hard, or you got like a growth. Let's hope it's benign. Let's hope it's not anything cancerous. But yeah, you definitely get that checked out, bud.
All of y'all have heard about the possibility, and it seems the White House spokesman talking about the possibility of mass evacuations, contingency plans in case of war. I'm going to tell you what it's really about. They want this land because this is really Egypt, the real Israel. Everything is here. This is the promised land. And they know that there's going to come a time when they got to go because you stole it from God's people. So what they've been doing in Hawaii and all, remember what that man said that was very key. There's not a place on this earth where the United States doesn't have a contingency plan for mass evacuations. They want to take people out of here so that you can't activate. They gonna cause a major problem and then acting like in order for you to have your life saved, they gonna give you a free ride. Come stay in one of these bunkers, and you go into a concentration camp. They're gonna try to trick you into leaving your own land. See, they can't force you out. But the one thing they is allowed to do is trick you.
All right, dude. Let's just call out the elephant in the room here. Buddy, you had the wettest lips I have ever seen on the internet, and then you spit on your camera at the end, and you left it. That doesn't kill your credibility, but it kind of makes it hard to watch, bud. I mean, it sounds crazy. It does, and it is crazy, but it's not impossible. It's very possible. I don't know about the whole video, him talking about, this being God's land, and that's why they're after it. The part about basically tricking us into being afraid for our lives and then tricking us to leave our home in order to go to a concentration camp or a safe place or something where you can be guarded and protected. 100%, dude. There's not one part of me that believes that the government would not put us in that situation if they had the chance. In a moment's notice. If there was ever a chance for them to wrangle everyone up like cattle and put them in a place where we can just be monitored and controlled 100% of the time, they would do it. They would do it 100%. And I feel like they're working on it little by little every day. And the stupid people that blindly follow them are making it much harder on those of us who don't.
What they have been doing to us, they have been doing piece by piece, little by little, for some time now. But it is not just changing the beautiful architecture, letting it fall to ruin, or just demolishing it and replacing it with a parking lot or some other ugly box. All the easier to control that population that isn't uplifted and inspired by its architecture. Another thing you guys may have noticed in the last couple decades especially is the continued lack of color. All these parasites and their corporations pushing these colorless, bland, simplistic logos. By comparison, in all products sold in the 1800s, only about 15% of those were black or grade scaled items. Now look in this graph, the car colored variety sold by year, or even this awesome AI tool, scouring the internet archives for pictures of all items sold from the 1800s until now, and it shows our rapid march to a true black and white world. Anyone who has studied the psychology of colors at all knows the benefit of happy, bright colors. Increase your mental activity, leave you feeling rejuvenated and energized, helps you with low energy and depression. Wow, that last bit kind of just describes the problem with most people in modern society. Low energy and depression. Even the crappy fast food that we all shouldn't eat, but we all know you do from time to time. How hard it is taking my son into a McDonald's with what they've done to it now, compared to how awesome it looked like here back when we were kids. And don't even get me started on these lost BK legends. But the new colorless boxed McDonald's looks like a place you go to have a bad corporate seminar. All this bland architecture and colors to keep your vibrations low. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Honestly, though, I will eat the mess out of some Taco Bell. I will, assuming I don't have anything to do later that night, and I can just sit at home by myself with my discomfort and my bathroom nearby. I will devour some Taco Bell anytime. But McDonald's, yes, McDonald's does look like a prison nowadays, 100%. When I was a younger man, the Burger King Kids Club was awesome. All those cartoon characters he was talking about, it was so cool. You get like a monthly thing from Burger King. I had a few Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle VHSs they sent me that were that were like awesome. I just remember it being a much happier place. Like, it was exciting to go there when you were younger. You know, let's go to McDonald's. Okay, cool. Play in the play place. And it could just be because, you know, I guess nowadays those places like aren't as exciting. Those kind of activities aren't as exciting. Like, we don't have arcades really anymore because we just play video games at home. You know, like there are so many more. There's so much more convenience now in just like staying at home and not having to go to a place to experience some sort of entertainment, that I think that these corporations just aren't investing the money to cater to that part of us anymore, right? Like now McDonald's is just a food place. You know, it's not a fun place for kids anymore. So I feel like it's the convenience is almost to our detriment, right? Like, I appreciate it, obviously. Like, I work from home, I work remote. I'm doing this in my apartment right now, recording these videos for you. Like, I get to talk to, you know, hundreds of thousands of people, hopefully millions at some point, about these topics that we're talking about in this video. And I wouldn't be able to do that before. So the convenience is great, but at the same time, it's really at the detriment of, you know, social interaction and you know, in-person interaction, and having to go places to experience entertainment is part of, you know, what helped create relationships. People find, you know, their significant other. People find, you know, love. People find friendships. Now a lot of it's online, and it's all just very, you know, comment based. It's not even like conversational anymore. It's just little comments here. Like some of you will just comment on this video, like one comment, and that'll be the most that we ever interact in our life, right? Aside from people that join the Discord or something where we can talk a little more and stuff when I'm actually able to do that. Just like at its core, it just comes down to, I think that I don't think it's necessarily intentional that everything is getting so boring and bland. I just think that it's not worth it to the companies to invest that much time and effort into those, you know, previously fun and entertaining elements of the company. And it's just more cost effective for them to focus on the service they provide, because people don't want to be there any longer than they have to anymore.